Hello, and welcome to my first video. I have made this channel because I have finally found the strength to admit to myself that I am an atheist, and this is due in no small part to hearing other atheists on YouTube. Finally, hearing someone else say what I had been feeling inside for so many years was a liberating experience, and I want to offer that kind of support to anyone else out there who needs it. Closeted atheists, agnostics, skeptics of all kinds. It cannot be said often or loudly enough, you are not alone. You may feel isolated depending on your living situation. Perhaps your family is very religious, or maybe it's your friends, or even your school. Whatever the case may be, no matter how isolated your skepticism can make you feel, there are more of us out there, and our numbers are growing. I've decided to make this first video about an argument I have developed that helps in situations when cornered by a fundamentalist. It is by no means a definitive death blow to their arguments, however, and I will not actually change their mind. But it may very well put an end to the hate speech they spew in your direction, and it will certainly let them know that you will not take their abuse lying down. For too long, the faithful have trampled those of us who dare question their beliefs, and it's time we stop being the ones on the defensive. With that, I present my argument. The case for agnosticism. How to use the Bible against those that would use it against you. Often, when engaging in debate with members of the deeply religious community, their arguments degrade into unfounded, self-righteous drivel, for which there seems to be no defense. Mind you, this is not because the person arguing in the positive has stumped the skeptic, but because they are so assured in their own knowledge of what is correct in terms of the spiritual world, that there is seemingly nothing to convince them otherwise. Anyone who has ever dealt with someone like this has heard at least one variation of the following. Well, we'll just see who's laughing when I am sitting at the right hand of God and you are burning in hell. Arguments like this can completely stall any intelligent conversation, which is the goal of the devout follower, simply because it gives them the illusion of winning the argument. The more literalist they are in their interpretation of Scripture, the more intensely they argue that they intimately know the exact nature of God's will and what it means for humankind. However, even a cursory knowledge of their own mythology as written in the Bible can give the clever skeptic the perfect rebuttal. First, you must find out if the person you are debating takes the Bible literally. This step is just a formality, since the vast majority of the people that would make the claim of knowing precisely what God's will is do. Afterwards, bring up the passage of 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, which states, "For who among men knows the thoughts of a man except the man's spirit within him? In the same way, no one knows the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God." This will more than likely initially shock your opponent, since they probably never expected you to be able to quote Scripture. But once this is worn off, they will undoubtedly retort with lines about how God has revealed His true will through the Scriptures if one looks hard enough. Continue your argument by bringing up every fundamentalist's favorite historical fallacy, the book of Genesis. Again, if you are up against the kind of person who takes the Bible literally, this story is non-negotiable in their faith. The passage in question is Genesis chapter 3, verses 4 to 5. "And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." The serpent, Lucifer, is making the argument that eating from the tree will give them knowledge equal to that of God. Now, it is true that the serpent here is deceptive, but as seen in Genesis chapter 3, verse 7, "And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons." So the deception by the serpent here is not in what effect the fruit would have on Adam and Eve, but in the price they would have to pay for their disobedience. The fruit did indeed give them knowledge previously reserved for God. Sparing the details, Genesis chapter 3, 14 to 24, covers all of the unpleasant punishments that God gave for the sin of eating this fruit. This is where the argument becomes fun. After pointing out that no man can understand God, Corinthians 2:11, and that claiming knowledge equal to that of God is sinful, Genesis 3:4-24, the argument can logically be concluded that anyone claiming to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that their fundamentalist interpretation of the Scriptures is 100% correct is committing the very same sin against God that Adam and Eve supposedly committed, the claiming of God-like knowledge for oneself. Therefore, those of us that refuse to commit simply because we do not know dwell more within God's supposed favor than those claiming absolute knowledge of God. As a final afterthought, if you ever find yourself in a situation where this argument becomes useful, you may also wish to throw in one final statement. Simply put forth the idea that, isn't it better to be a good person simply because it's right, than it is to be a good person because you fear the punishment for disobedience? I hope this video helps some of you. I'm going to say it again. You are not alone. I'm going to be putting out more videos, partially in an effort to offer moral support to other skeptics out there, and to document my own personal experiences as an atheist who has recently come out, so to speak. Free thinkers, especially in the United States, are a minority, and we need all the help and support we can get. So, until next time, think critically.